My name's Kirsten Schmidtke. I'm a revenue leadership consultant and founder of Kirsten Schmidtke Consulting. And I work with CEOs, CROs, VPs of sales to help them to close the leadership gap and the leadership execution gap, specifically around sales, by unlocking that one problem that creates revenue, growth, and momentum. So today we are here to talk about sales, to talk about sales leadership, and specifically about human first AI enabled sales. So leading modern sales through a trust recession, right? We're in a time where AI is accelerating everything. Everyone's talking about AI internally, externally, probably at home, at the dinner table, right? And when it comes to sales, we're seeing that buyers are actually less trusting. They don't want to be taking meetings with sellers as much as they did before. And as this trust continues to collapse, where do we find ourselves as sellers? Where do we focus our time and ramp up our skills? And as a result, how do we become more human? Because at the end of the day, deals are won with people. Deals are done because of people. So we want to continue to expand and grow our human edge. So I'm very excited to have this panel to, support me and to also like dive deeper into this conversation today, because we are really at a time where, sales leaders need to rethink how their teams are showing up so that they continue to win and continue to create high performing teams. So a big welcome to our panelists. Thank you again for joining us. I'm going to kind of allow our introductions and our questions to kind of fold into one so that we can really kind of get the ball rolling because I know this audience wants to hear from you more than anything else. Today's theme, again, it's about being human in our selling, but also, being aware of how this thing called AI can help us to be much more effective in our work. And there's no doubt that it's impacting sellers and sales teams across industries and across organizations. So I'm going to pose this first question to the panel. I'll do some quick intros too before, to get them familiar with our audience. But, the first question I wanted to kick today off with was we see AI as part of this, selling motion, or there's an opportunity for us to explore AI. But where do we want to explore AI in our sales process, and where do you believe being a human, we don't want to replace being human. Like I think we're really all trying to find like where is that balance, or where do we know where AIs fit and where we actually need to commit to staying human, to build these high performing teams. So I'd love to kick it off with Brittany Pepper. I'll do a quick introduction. She has over 15 years of experience in IT and cloud sales. She's currently the Ontario Public Sector Regional Director at Softchoice, managing a team of 20 to help organizations modernize technology, drive adoption, and achieve meaningful outcomes for citizens. I think what's really impactful of her leadership style is while she's customer centric and brings that customer centric perspective to her customers, she also brings that to sales leadership, and really drives focus on trust, value, and executing growth sustainably. So, Brittany, actually, sustainability, I think that's what it's all about. But when it comes to AI and human, where do you think we could focus on AI, and where do you think, yeah, being a human is like a requirement regardless of technology?
Awesome. Thanks for the intro and thanks for letting me kick things off. I love going first. So I think, the most beneficial part of AI is evaluating a lot of those tasks that weigh down sellers. I think over COVID, we got really used to sitting at our desks and cramming a whole bunch of meetings and maybe not having the appropriate time for follow-ups or meeting prep or thinking on behalf of our customers. Being that, person that knows our customers better than they know themselves, so that you're bringing value. So the way that I've really approached using AI with the team is all of those tasks that aren't adding value to the customer process, the customer engagement. How can we automate those? How can we make things like getting a quote to a customer faster? How can we make our meetings more meaningful? Like, what information do we need to drive so that we're getting the right content at the right time to the right customer and we're following up quickly based on exactly what they've asked us for? We leverage Copilot internally at SoftChoice, which I think has been a really valuable tool. Like just getting comfortable with using it for meeting prep, taking the notes from the meeting, getting those meetings out quickly. It drives a lot. So I don't see yet anywhere where it replaces a face-to-face meeting or replaces that passion that sellers bring to engagements, that excitement about their service offering, right? That connection to the customer. So I don't think it replaces humanity or in any part of the engagement. I think it actually allows space for it. Like take all that stuff off of your plate that's not adding value and get way closer to your customers.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like it's giving us time to be face to face, to bring our enthusiasm, right? And to communicate that because that's contagious, right? To get a customer to lean in, to listen, to want to learn more. So many more things, but want to make sure we get to everybody and all the questions. So, Pat, I'm going to go to you next. So, Patricia Nielsen, she's the head of digital transformation and AI at Amazon Web Services, where she's leading a national team of technology specialists to help organizations harness cloud data and AI to drive business outcomes. She comes with over 2 decades of experience in the technology industry, both consulting, sales, partnerships, startups, and is also really passionate about giving back to the community and creating opportunities. She's the founder of the award-winning Mentoring Circles program with the Women in Communications and Technology. She's a board director at the Accelerator Center and advisory council member for Women Funding Women. So, I mean, Patricia, in 20 years, I'm sure you've seen a lot of change with technology and how that's impacting people. But I imagine with AI, it's like a different type of change and transformation that you're probably navigating with your team. So, yeah, same question. Where do you think AI can be leveraged, and where do you think we need to be focusing on, or where it will never replace, having that human edge and that human element?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kirsten, and thanks to everyone for joining. I'll build off of what Brittany was saying and then just add like a personal anecdote. I think, for our teams, when they're doing that preparation for meetings, being able to collect all of our notes, have them in AI, and then almost like quiz ourselves in preparation for those customer meetings. Like use AI to challenge, not just to help you validate, because sometimes in the way that you will use AI, it can validate what you're thinking or it can help you do that initial research. But then even just put in questions like, I'm going into this meeting, I want to be prepared for, objection handling. Like if I position this, how is my customer going to react? Or, I've collected these notes over the last 3 meetings. I think that, I'm ready to now start talking about pricing or packaging or that next step is now the right time, and have the AI actually help you start to challenge yourself. So not just looking for that confirmation bias, but actually helping you to think about what you're not ready for. And when I go into the human element and I think back on my 20 plus years, I've always tried to understand, for many people that are on this call, you probably think about the importance of the stakeholder, knowing who the stakeholder is in your sales process. Okay, great. When you know who that stakeholder is, I always try to spend time with them to understand, how are they measured? What does success for them as an individual look like in the year? And once you understand that, then you can frame things differently. And that's not something that AI can tell me. And it's not something that I can just research about the company. Public data is one thing, but actually understanding the stakeholders' personal goals, what do they need to deliver? What are their, measurements? What is their leadership looking for? Those things can sometimes be in conflict or in harmony, and having those real relationships, and to Brittany's comment, that face-to-face interaction, nothing beats that. And you're not going to learn that by just doing general research on a company. So spending the time to get to know them can really help to frame the relationship, to establish something that AI is just never going to be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of in my work with clients and with sales teams, is how do we really put ourselves in the buyer's shoes, right? In the customer's shoes? How do we tell a story that always keeps them as the hero of the story, right? And we can only be the hero if we know where they want to be led or what success looks like, right? And so I love that reminder, like the conversations we have, the trust that we earn, we can start to understand what is really motivating them, not just on a professional level, but also on a personal level. And that can really deepen trust, that to your point, technology just can't replace. So
Yeah.
that, yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective. Paulina, I'd love to go to you next. So Paulina is the director of sales at Shop Vision, an AI-powered competitive intelligent platform for brands. She spent over 8 years at Shopify, moving from IC to leading multi-market teams, and a builder who thrives in early stage growth, and weaves AI into everything she touches. So she's continued to expand in her sales leadership and is very passionate about supporting and developing the next generation of women in sales leadership. So Paulina, welcome, and would love, I mean, you're like in it, like you guys are building AI, like right, like that's and I guess in context to like where how you're going about the conversations with your customers and like these opportunities to kind of leverage. You probably have a different kind of perspective, even because you're moving so fast in a startup type of environment, not type of startup environment, period. So would love your perspective on this question.
Thank you. Very excited to be here. And yeah, this topic is near and dear to my heart because I'm, like you mentioned, touching it in everything I do. So, Shop Vision is an AI native company. So, what we are building is AI first, and internally, we're thinking AI first. And I think some people are still intimidated by that because they feel like many parts of their roles could be displaced if they, maybe use it too much or not in the right way. There's still a lot of fear, I think, around AI usage in general. And I'm seeing that in our customer space as well, and the prospects that we're talking to. So I think the one thing that I, embody as, a person leading the sales organization, bringing on people, to help grow my team and just with my colleagues internally and the way that we think through these types of problems is, AI can't replace the topic of this conversation, which is trust. And like, how are we building trust with the brands and the retailers and the customers that we want to be building on part of our platform? And the thing that comes up even in sales cycles is, they're also, fearful of adopting AI too quickly because they don't want their jobs to get replaced. So it's my job and my team's job to educate them on how to use it ethically, lower the barrier to entry, get them comfortable using it. And AI can't do that for me. Like I have to build those relationships. I have to show them, the value right up front. And there's a couple ways that, we've started to do that. And like as we evolve our sales cycle, and one of them is, by not thinking product first, but proof first. Like I really try and understand what we need to solve for them and showing them that through like custom demos or like really tailored conversations that I'm like coming prepared with, like going above and beyond to build trust quickly, to break through some of that because they're getting AI emails and AI, all kinds of things, voice notes, like calls, like all kinds of all day long. So I think personalizing things as much as possible where you can early on is really the game changer here when it comes to AI, because otherwise it all kind of feels noisy. It all kind of feels like the same thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Thank you. And it's going to be that's going to be a great segue to the next question. So I'm just, for those who are curious about like, how do we cut through the noise? We are definitely going to talk about that too. But I want to give Adrian a chance to weigh in on this question first. So Adrian Robbins is the founder and CEO of Data Elephant, a Vancouver-based data and analytics consulting firm, with over 20 years of sales and leadership experience. Her career has spanned across IT staffing, IT research and advisory, IT consulting, and leadership in a boutique consulting firm. And now she is, yeah, the CEO and founder of Data Elephant, where she she gets to wear many hats, which also includes sales, right? Because at the end of the day, revenue, I know, and growth is a priority for you as a CEO and founder. So you've got sellers, you've got a VP of sales in place. Would love to know, when it comes to AI and human, how are you leading them? What are you seeing working?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Just to clarify, we don't have sellers. We have one VP of sales and
Sorry.
me. We're the sellers. We are bringing
Sorry, your
all
sales team includes a VP of sales. I thank
Yes, it
you. I
does.
didn't word
Just
that
to
correctly.
clarify that it's him and I essentially doing our reach outs. There's no team sort of building pipeline for us, so it's very much on the two of us. I agree with every point that's been made so far. Just so many mundane tasks and things that should be automated that are now able to be off of our plate and allow for that time to be spent with customers is key. I remember like early in my career, one of my bosses when I was in staffing saying like, if it doesn't make you money, don't do it. And I wish that was possible, but there's still so many things we have to do that might not make us revenue or close a deal, but we have to do them, like updating our pipeline and research and all those things. So, being a data and AI firm, I feel like I have amazing access to tooling and opinions from our engineering team on how we could do things better. As a firm or as a company, we use ChatGPT Enterprise, Perplexity, Gemini, Jasper, Canva, Copilot, OpenClaw, all of it every day. I cannot imagine doing my job without those things. And then I also have, I suppose, a luxury of being able to tap one of our super smart engineers on our team if one of those tools doesn't do something that I want it to, and they can whip up an app or vibe code me something. So we are just constantly using it more and more as a company in sales and marketing, particularly. Um, I have to walk the walk if I'm going to go meet a CIO or data leader and tell them why they need to automate and use tools like QuickSight or Genie and all, or build LLMs and regs. So we're constantly looking for ways that we can use it here internally. Um, there's the obvious things like, you know, meeting summaries and account prep. For me, because I oversee things outside of sales as well, even things like automating resume analysis for when we're hiring. Like we've got 8 open roles right now, and the tool that I use can only take us so far. So I'm just constantly looking for ways that we can save manual work. But as everyone has mentioned, it just doesn't replace the human connection. I'm actually finding that, particularly over the last year or two, we got so used to Teams and Zoom during COVID that more and more people prefer on site in person more now, both from a project delivery standpoint when we're selling project work. They want to meet the people that they're putting this trust in and paying to work with. And lunches and coffees and dinners are becoming more common. I feel like people were a bit resistant, sorry, after COVID. They're like, let's just do Teams, even if we lived 20 minutes away. So that trust just can't be built to the same extent for obvious reasons as it can. In person. And then I do find like because I have a leadership title, and I'm sure many others on the call and of course on the panel have that, that I get prospected a lot. So it's so noisy, and I can't imagine a client at an enterprise. We're just a small shop, how much more volume and noise they're getting. And there's just so many bad automated AI enabled reach outs. They make me cringe, right? Like you can tell that they were automated. They've got all the little obvious emojis and chat GPT signals, and it's just a turn off. Like you don't, we have to use those in some capacity, but the second it feels like AI or an automated reach out, it's like I'm not interested. Even this is just a personal thing. Like if someone reaches out to me and asks me for time and I offer it, and then they send me a link to go like book it in their calendar. I know a lot of people do that, and to each their own, but I'm like, why do I have to work to book a time with you now when you want to meet with me? So I'm very sensitive because of what I get to what we put out there, that it still feels human. And of course, we should be using AI, and so should any seller reaching out to me. But it's such a fine line of being annoying, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're speaking my language in so many ways in terms of, I actually think it goes back even, Brittany said something about like being personalized, right? And like when we're sending links and we're sending, like giving you to-dos, we're kind of taking away from that, like, personalization, showing up to be of service to prospects and service and how we're selling, right? And then that's all contributing to the noise that I believe is create like it's directly correlated to this recession or receding, right? Eroding of trust because people don't know what to believe, what's like what is true, what's not true, what's AI, what's not AI. And so buyers are skeptical. Buyers are, like to your point, you're getting this influx of DMs and you're like, hey, I know this isn't a person. And so how do I determine what is and what isn't? And, I think this is coming up in the chat too around like, um, how do you get through the noise, right? There's so much noise out there, and I know there's people on the call that have teams of, like teams that are more in like a hunting type of role. Even if you're still trying to expand, if you have an existing territory, we're always looking to get the attention of other stakeholders or maybe lines of business. So actually, Adrian, if you don't mind, I'm going to just start with you because you were talking a little bit about that already, but I'd love to know what you find is working to cut through the noise. Like, what is working that you can focus on right now to get the attention of buyers? And is there anything that you think we need to like let go of that, could is almost a liability if we keep doing it the old way? Like the new way, how do we cut through the noise? And what's like the old way that we need to like retire and let go in this modern sales world so that we can be earning buyers' trust back?
I might not be the best person to answer this because we don't have a sales engine and I have not prospected a lot in a while, if I'm honest. I prospect, but in a bit of maybe a non-traditional boutique type way. I remember
Well, tell
having
us more. This might be
okay,
actually
I'll try my
great.
best and see if it's a value at all. Like we had a sales intern from the school that I went to last year, and he's like, "Okay, well, when you cold call," I'm like, "I haven't cold called in like over a decade. And maybe I should be. I don't know. I've heard from other people that it works well if you do it a certain way. So I'm sure others have insights into emails and calls that might work better. But I'm very much network referrals and event space. Like that's how we've gotten all of our business and partners at Data Elephant and in my last couple of roles as well. So we have one upcoming in Toronto on April 8th, like curated executive events. I know there's a lot of those, so that in itself isn't all that unique, but finding the right panelists and thought leaders and getting a topic that is a little bit less mainstream, maybe a particular industry or topic, and then getting customers that are just like my prospects, that are either an existing client or a friend or someone in my network to speak. That has been our most successful avenue to C-suite prospects are those curated events that, not just a steak dinner that they could totally afford on their own, just to come meet with me and chat, but come meet us and get some true learnings and perspectives from your peers. That works very well for us. That's not all we do, and it's certainly not all we can depend on, but that's one of the core things that we do. And then this kind of goes back to that in-person trust building is, I don't have very often, rarely, a client, a CIO, or a data leader reach out and just give me a referral over email. Like, hey, I thought of you and I met with one of my peers and I think you could totally do good things for them. But those are the type of things that come up at a lunch or a dinner or a coffee or an in-person meeting at someone's office is storytelling so that they think of you not just for what you've done for them project and scope wise, but hey, I was just working with another client and we did this and you haven't worked with us in that capacity, but it was really cool for this reason. And they're like, oh, you know what? You should talk to this person. Or having that level of trust because you've met in person and built that trust and delivered solid work and brought value to ask for referrals. Like, hey, who else in your network would you be open to making an intro to? So again, not prospecting, maybe not traditional, but the value of a referral is so high, and getting those is not something that happens through emailing or remote calls. And then for us being an SI, like the partner network, we've spent the last 3 years building credibility with Databricks and Microsoft and AWS so that we can be a trusted partner that they then refer us into. So again, maybe unique for maybe not applicable to everybody on the call or the panel, but if we get a lead from a partner, that's like the best thing we could ask for. That means they know our work is good. They're willing to put us in front of a customer. And that's where a lot of our pipeline comes from.
So I'm hearing like connection, conversation, collaboration, right? And yeah, we'll see if anybody else wants to weigh in on cold calling or how they're cutting through the noise. But I'm also hearing like, the right conversation at the right time with the right audience. And that was something, Brittany, you kind of alluded to as well, right? Is like getting in front of customers more and being prepared to have the right conversation with the right contact. So if your team is looking to kind of broaden the footprint or like, right, like look for maybe there's a different opportunity in a different like area of technology or a different business unit, like have you found something that works to kind of, like I said, cut through the noise, or is there a sales behavior or area that we need to really like let like just kind of leave so that we can open space to embrace more of a modern sales approach?
Yeah, and I think Adrian outlined it great. Like you have to come with the POV. Like you have to
Yeah.
know what your customer is interested in before you get there. And like the behavior that we need to leave behind, I'm sure everybody that's been in this industry as long as me remember the cold calling methodology is just call and tell them who you are and then do some discovery and ask a bunch of questions and then run away and then come back with a solution. Like we need to flip that. Like what is the solution that you know that customer is interested in because you've researched their peers, because you've researched that customer, because you've read their annual report. Like I work in public sector and that information is all readily available. So if you're not coming with, hey, I understand you have a 311 modernization project in hand, where are you at on this? Because we've worked with XYZ other company, organization, and here's what they were interested in, and here's the missteps that they had in the process. We want to make sure that you don't have those same missteps. I could be wrong, but I'd rather them tell me, yeah, we're not interested in that. Here's what we're interested in, than go in and say, hey, what are you interested in? Like, I should know that. If I'm coming to you, I should know what you want. I should know better than you what you need to know. And I think that is a big change in how we think, and it takes more time and it takes more focus. But what AI can't do is that critical thinking part. You can use it as a tool to research it, but that like critical thinking and getting that next meeting, it makes such a difference.
Yeah, I love this idea of I'm almost hearing like shifting from value add to point of like POV, like having a
Mhm.
perspective and a point of view, right?
Right.
Because sometimes talking to, again, to clients and we're talking about adding value and I'll really dive deep. Like, what does that mean? And I think to your point, like back, yeah, 15 years ago, it's like call, send a white paper, send it like, right? Your value add was like giving information. Well, customers, buyers can get that instantly, just like we can
Mhm.
from all these LLMs and these different tools, right? So what can you do that's different? Yeah, you can come with a point of view. You can come with a perspective. You can demonstrate, share, like show an like demonstrate an insight of how people other people are doing it or what's working for other people, right? And that point of view, like I think that could be something maybe, I would encourage the audience to take away and experiment, right? Is it's leaving the value add, maybe the way we've traditionally added value to customers and actually leading with the point of view or the perspective instead to cut through that noise. So that's awesome. Okay, Pat, same question to you. Any perspective or anything you'd add to like cutting through this noise and yeah, continuing to expand like our skill sets in a modern sales world?
Yeah, I think something that Brittany just mentioned, where you have to make it relevant, like taking that AI output, you can't just then put that into an email and say, okay, yep, I did my research. This is specific to the customer. Let me just pop it into an email and send it over. You have to be thoughtful because you
Yeah.
sometimes only get that one chance. And if you haven't actually gone through and read the output and made sure that it's the right time to give that message or it is the right message at all, then you lose that credibility. And when you're doing these in person interactions, like Adrian was talking about, it's that opportunity for you to take out that irrelevant outreach or to take out that messaging that might not have landed if it was in an email or just on a call, but to have a real conversation. And then the customer gets to know, oh, this person actually does understand my business, or they actually care. They've done their research and they're able to go that one layer deeper. Sometimes when we do these interactions, they can just seem superficial, like, oh, I gave you the right tagline, or I told you what I thought you wanted to hear. But then when you sit down and talk through it, they want to know that you can be a sounding board, that you're not just going to give the same rhetoric over and over, but you're actually listening to what their answer is or to what their concern is, and that you're being thoughtful about it and then saying, okay, well, based on my experience or based on these other customers I'm working with, or, based on this research that I did, here's what I'm seeing as a trend, or here's what I'm thinking of for your business as a possible opportunity or as a possible way for us to approach this together. Does that sound right? And ask for their feedback. You might not have that right answer, but asking for the feedback and then actually, again, listening to what they say and going, okay, based on what they're telling me, how do I adapt? What can I go back with? And being honest, if you don't have that right answer, just okay, great. Let me go do some more research. Let me come back with a solution or a next step or a perspective, however that looks. So I think that's one way that we can make this real, and really own that next step and make sure that we're being relevant and maintaining those relationships.
Yeah, yeah, because in order to think critically, we need to be listening when the customer's speaking, right? And listening from a place of curiosity and interest and wanting to know, not from a place of I need to respond. I need to have the answer, or I've got to have the, again, like the white paper or right in my back pocket to like land. And this is where I think AI is creating an incredible opportunity for us to actually expand our human skills. Like, how can we listen better? How can we, take information, like you said, take that back and bring, and then, to Brady's point, bring that back maybe in the form of a different insight or point of view that could really, challenge even the customer to think differently or for them to solve their problem 10 times faster than they thought they could. So, I really love that perspective on like listening, right? Like that's a skill in and of itself. It is so much part of a conversation. It's not just about us speaking. So so let's wrap up this question with Paulina. Is there anything you'd love to add around how we can cut through the noise? I imagine a lot of your work is getting in front of. I mean, you guys you're a new business. So how are you getting people's attention?
We've done a couple things a little bit creatively, I would say, because yes, we have only been publicly selling. We just hit the 1 year mark this past week. So the first 6 months of that was founder-led selling. I came in the summer and I'm trying to revamp and really establish like, what does this motion look like? So it's been awesome so far. We've been pretty fortunate. There hasn't had to be a ton of, traditional outbound in the sense of cold calling and email campaigns and things like that, because the old school way of going to conferences has really worked for us. I know that doesn't work for everybody, but I think it's like back to what Adrian was saying, people love to be in person again. So we have invested heavily in conferences. With the last one that we just got back from was at Shop Talk in Vegas, literally got back last night. We walked away with 150 booked demos post show. And it's not because we're standing at a desk trying to grab people's attention walking by. We're trying to create an experience. We are selling competitive intelligence. That's interesting to a lot of brands and retailers. So we're coming prepared. We're going above and beyond. Just having a presence there, and we're reaching out ahead of time saying, we've prepared a booklet with your competitive intelligence, like with your top three competitors in this specific category, and we'd love to share these insights with you. Come by our booth and grab it. And it's a printed out copy. We've spent weeks preparing for that, but we're walking away with something physical, and it's differentiating ourselves to the booth next to us who maybe didn't activate in that same way. That's one thing that we're doing. On-site custom demos. We've tried to prepare. We got the list of attendees, tried to get as many as we could prepared ahead of time. If somebody came by our booth wanting to see something more customized, and maybe we didn't have theirs, we showed our like Herschel demo. They're like our flagship customer. We said, come back tomorrow. We'll set an appointment with you. We'll do this all customized on site. Just trying to go above and beyond just like the traditional conference vibe, I think goes a long way. So that's one way. Another thing that's really interesting, that's completely different than anything I've experienced in the past, but we're part of this program where it's almost like how can I describe it? It's called D2C MVP. I'm going to give him a shout out right now. If anyone's listening and knows Sean Went, you're getting a shout out from me. Basically, the way this works is he works with vendors like us, typically in the D2C like brand and retailer space. And he's got this network of operators, decision makers from all kinds of brands that are typically on Shopify. And as a vendor contracted with Sean and his group, he sets us up with feedback calls with these brands, with operators that have decision making power. And the reason I love this program for early stage startup is because feedback is everything. How can I go out and sell and assume that this is what brands and retailers want if I'm not putting their guard down and allowing them to just give me feedback on what we're building? I don't even want to start to map out what my TAM analysis looks like for 2026 until I know who needs what and when, and understanding what those signals look like. So for my first 6 months in this role, I was doing 10 to 15 feedback calls a week. No pressure, not part of my pipeline, just simply listening. And it paid off. I understand what these exact ICP personas want. And now that I have sales reps joining into my team, like we know, what these personas are looking for. And now we can actually do tailored outreach in the way that I wanted to. But it takes effort, it takes education and time and patience. And I think, we get really excited because we've been in sales for so long and we really believe in what we're selling and we just go for the close, but we have to be useful first. And I think we forget that a lot of the time. Like the sale will come if we earn the trust and have something to say and come with that POV. But how are you going to get that POV if you haven't done your research? So that's just like unique to being a startup. So hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, a couple of things that we've done a little bit differently. But I know I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to have to pick up the phone and do the cold calling again. I don't think it's dead. There's this theory that like cold calling is dead, and I don't think it is. I just think the way we're cold calling traditionally is just,
Yeah.
it's just not the same anymore. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, like Brittany was saying, used to like make like it was like point of contact was all that mattered, and then we like ran away to like get a like solution, and then we came back where it's like no, we need to like she said, flip it, right? So yeah, cold calling. It's not that it's dead; it's we need to just be approaching it in a different way. And I think you gave a great kind of like insight, idea, tip for
There's
anyone
my
in
sales
any
rep.
industry when you're going to an event. Like if you've saw like whether you are a like a smaller business, an entrepreneur, whether you're, a large vendor, whatever it might be, when if you know you're going to an event and there's people you want to connect with, there's people that you want to have a conversation with, if you have access to a list or prospects, like let them know, book a meeting, have a conversation, ask a question, like engage before you even get to the event. I think there's huge power in that, and it's something that I've even incorporated a different version of that in my business. It's been very effective. So I think that was a great kind of like tip and insight. And then I thought it folded very well into even what Patricia was talking about. And we've got Pauline like startup. We've got like Pat at AWS, and you could argue very very different stages of business. But at the same time, both of you said go back to the customer and ask, right? Like ask them questions. Don't assume that you have to know the answers, right? Or assume that we know the answers already. And both of you maybe be like are getting feedback from different like it's a different channel, but it's still the same outcome, right? It's still that you're looking to get feedback and not go in assuming that you have all the answers or you need to know all the answers. And I find that that is like a bit of a shift in leadership and in modern leadership, right? At one time, you went to your manager for the answers. Managers were expected to know what to do next, how to do it next. A lot of leadership styles are like traditionally have been like, I'll show you how I did it, and we'll just kind of assume success. We'll just, kind of transfer over to you. And I think in a sales for sure, but modern leadership in general, there's a lot more space to be more aware of who we are, and as a result, able to coach and support and empower our team to be more effective by understanding and I like seeing them as individuals that collectively as a team can really rise to a challenge. So I'd love this, like the next question I'd love to ask you is around leadership and around, specifically sales leadership, because now as leaders, you have more data than you had like than ever before. I'm sure you all have more pressure than you did than ever before to, increase revenue per head, to increase productivity per head. And I'd love to know, like, where do you feel that sales leadership needs to focus the most right now? Like, what are you focused on coaching your team around, supporting them to find focus around? Like, what is kind of that like non-negotiable that that your sales leadership team needs in, to really be the people, like to be the team that wins in the future. So let me actually start with Brittany. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Um, Good question. We've been talking a lot on my team actually about focus. And just like customers are feeling pulled in a million directions and getting a lot of content and um, getting a lot of emails, it's happening inside organizations too. There's so much data and everybody has a point of view on like what our sales team should be doing. So, hey, you need to grow this number. Hey, you need to grow this one. Hey, this number is growing. You should focus more there. Hey, you got to sell more of this thing. Hey, sell more of this thing. And we sell so many things. The focus can get pulled in many directions. So, what I've really tried to land with my team is a set of standards and a set of goals that are really clear on what we're executing against that allows them to say yes and say no. And it allows them to focus with customers and also say no to customers sometimes. Like we're in B2C, like B2B selling a lot of different things. And we need to be clear with customers where our true value is. So I think, where we need to go and what I'm trying to focus on is giving focus. Like in a world where our brains are pulled in a million directions, like I think sales leaders can really drive a lot of value by ensuring their team knows exactly what's expected of them, helping them deliver, and holding them accountable. Like we had a real sweet gig for a while in tech sales during COVID when everybody was just buying. And there was a lot of good habits that came out of that. There was a lot of bad habits that came out of that. And, that accountability piece of, here's what we need to do. Here's how we're going to help you do it. And here's how I'm going to hold you accountable to that outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm hearing, yeah, like crystal clear on where we're going, like what's expected to get there, and like when things fall out of that, the permission to say no. Like it be like it's okay that every opportunity is not going to be a yes with a customer. Every internal, project or priority is not going to be a yes for your team. And it's okay to say no and like stay focused on what as a group you've determined is what's going to lead you to success faster. And I think that's really powerful because like when we say yes to something, we're always saying no to something else. Right. So it can be so effective when we are clear on what we are a yes for so that we know what we're a no for. We'll be constantly in this chasing of time and chasing of not enough time rather than moving forward with intention because of that level of focus. So I think that's a really, really, really great takeaway. Adrian, for you, I know you got two sellers, but I'm sure as a team, you're wanting your leadership to continue to have impact, to contribute, and to expand in how they're leading, like whether it's your delivery team or your engineers. So, what are you seeing that, you want to see, or what are you seeing that needs to continue to be developed, or are your non-negotiables that you're coaching your leaders on so that they're continuing to improve and contribute at a higher level?
Yeah, I think with all of the technology and tools we have, it's easy to connect live less with our teams as well, and default to Slack or, we want less meetings, so less emails, just real time. And we just need to be careful. I'm always careful about still maintaining those touch points, not meetings just to have meetings or necessarily scheduled weeklies or bi-weeklies, but checking in on people because like I've got direct reports that I could go days without speaking to. I know what they're doing, they know what I'm doing, but everything is electronic, it's text, it's Slack. So I think just taking the time to check in on people and make sure they're good and make sure they have your ear and that you're available is really critical because yeah, we could absolutely go for long periods of time without true connection and just we're all busy and it's all right in front of our screen, the ability to kind of communicate. um, and then from like a data perspective, I think just you know um, being smart and being like freeing up time for sure. Like things that are kind of non-negotiables for our team are, if we win a deal, we want to make sure we actually understand why we won, why were we chosen. If we lose a deal, if we have access to that information, who did we lose to? Why did we lose? What could we have done better? Um, I had we lost a deal at an already existing client actually not that long ago. So it hurt a bit. We knew it was competitive. And when we did a loss review, we found out that the other firm that was not an existing vendor to our client, so we were sort of the incumbent, if you will, they embedded a prototype into their proposal. So they just went above and beyond. They had one of their developers sort of whip something up. So when they sent over the proposal or walked through it with the customer, they had something to show. And I'm like, how did we not think of that? And now that's something we do every time. But would my client have offered that information had I not asked? Probably not. So I think just being curious and showing that you care if you won or you didn't win is something that's very embedded into our kind of our routine. I totally agree with saying no as well. If it's not your sweet spot or you don't have the capacity to properly and effectively respond, don't do it. People respect that and appreciate that transparency. Um, so yeah, I think that's it for me. But I just wanted to quickly comment if I can. I know we don't have that much time, but Paulina's answer I find so interesting to the last question because she was doing 10 to 15 calls a week. How many of us would have just used AI for that, right? Like that information is probably somewhere, but how much more effective was it to devote that much time to actually talk to somebody to give us that information? I think that's fascinating and like a really good reminder that data does not replace conversation.
And
Yeah.
I just
No,
add
thank.
one thing
Go
to
ahead. Sorry.
it wasn't even just that. Like the feedback that I was getting, it was building brand awareness, which I think we forget about sometimes. Like just those connections that I can now go back to in the future to
Yeah.
actually sell to maybe in 4 months from now when I bring out a new feature, the relationships carry you through. So sure, they were for feedback purposes, which were very important to us back then. But now that I have them on LinkedIn, I'm following along with them. I'm seeing them at conferences. Like that's the long game. And I think
Yeah.
we're always like so short-sighted sometimes. Like we can be that way when we're thinking about the closing sale. But yeah, playing the long game doesn't matter what size business you are, like AI cannot take that away.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because you're talking before the sale, right? And Adrian, you were just talking about an example of like after the sale, right? Like doing like a debrief or a post-board, right? And in both of those situations, you're earning trust by having conversations. You're earning trust by being curious. Like, and for Adrian, like you don't know that I'm sure at some point that customer will become a customer again. And it's no different than Paulina, like starting to nurture, like you said, that brand awareness. Adrian's doing that in a different way at a different stage of the sales cycle. But it's still earning trust, for both of you. And I think in both cases, you're also getting really critical feedback. And the game changing part is when you integrate the feedback. And Adrian, you said right away, like we got that piece of feedback. It's now part of our process. It's now part of our proposal and sales process, right? And without having that conversation, you otherwise never would have had that piece of information. So, really cool. And Paulina, let's like just go to you next. Like, is there anything you'd add around, what leaders need to be focused on? Like, we've got the data. We're reporting, right? Like probably faster than we ever were on like sales numbers and activity and those types of things. But yeah, what do you think it takes to be like a successful leader going forward?
I'll tell you the two things that I'm hyper focused on being an AI native company. One is not forgetting how important it is to hire and hire properly. I think in this AI age, a lot of leaders that I'm talking to just to kind of gain insights from in their interview processes, they're asking these sellers, how are you integrating AI? Like, we want to know. And I think a lot of sellers are afraid to say it because they're like, well, what's left for me to do? There's so much left. Like, I'm looking for the curiosity. I'm looking for the critical thinking. Like, I'm looking for those things. So if you tell me what you're operationalizing so I can understand, your superpowers outside of that, like that's what's going to make you a great seller. And I know my new hire is on this call right now. Brianne, I know you're listening. So I saw your tile. Um, but like she's got that spunk and fire, and like AI couldn't replace that on the show floor, which is why she closed a deal, her first deal the next day. And like those are the things like I'm digging for and I'm looking for. It's part of our hiring process to understand like how are you implementing this AI piece. So I think that's one thing that like we have to remember to keep doing really well, because if you don't make that, like a wrong hire is very expensive to solve. We know that, like you're paying the price on and on and on. That's the first thing, is like, building your sales culture is a very important piece. The second is I think a lot about like the systems that I'm trying to create, and like architecting how I want my reps to operate, because revenue per rep is important. We all know this, but I don't expect them to come in and figure it out themselves. Like I want them talking to as many customers as possible. So how can I enable them to hit the ground running? Not just by giving them a chat GPT license and saying, here, go create your templates, but figuring out stuff myself and testing things myself. And one thing that I've been doing is spending a lot of time in Claude Cowork, for example, and like understanding what part of our tech stack can I have talking to each other, so that when Brienne starts, she can just plug in and go. Like I don't need her figuring this out. Like I'll need to figure out what best practices are and remove friction from her sales process, from her just day to day in general. So an example of this that we've collaborated on with some people internally is, what does our follow up process look like? We want to be hyper personalized. We have these competitive insights. We got fireflies listening to our calls. We know it can automatically update our CRM. So if we can just plug something into Cowork that gives us a follow up on our call, now we've got this process in place where if Brienne talks to Lululemon tomorrow and it's pulling it all these things and plugging them in, she's got a PDF 5-page deck about her call ready to send that looks like it probably took her a week, but it's branded with Shop Vision branding. It's got the pain points. It's got how we solve it. It's ready to go. Like she's got that at her fingertips because we've taken the time to enable her. So I think enabling and like creating these systems and understanding how you want that to be laid out is like the second piece that we have to remember to continue doing.
Yeah, yeah. How many sellers on this call right now are going, oh my gosh, what I would have given for someone else to build a deck, to click a button
Yeah.
in my career so I didn't have to build another deck. I mean,
Well,
that's just one
Gemma,
example, but right, like we're all like yeah, the time we've spent. So it's incredible, the opportunity for sure that's available to us. But yeah, being curious of like how the dots connect, right? Not just like plugging and like you said, like just here, ChatGPT, go figure it out. Well, no, there's AI does require a skill. There still needs to be a skill development, and there needs to be clarity on where in the process it fits in, right? Or else we actually are creating more work for ourselves over time, I believe, because AI can just kind of take us down a path if we don't know what the process is, we don't pause to think about how it's actually going to support us, and we don't have the pieces in place that actually allow it to have a really high quality output. So, really good.
Brittany,
Awesome. So, Pat, I will ask you to, yeah, kind of wrap up this question for us. Anything that you would, recommend, or what to be focused on as a sales leader, or to other sales leaders? Like, where can they be hyper focused right now to see success in the long term?
Something that I've been doing is actually taking sales insights that the team is capturing. So we rolled out a tool, I think, last year called Sales Insights and Field Trends. And if we're not in situations where the AI is automatically recording the call, we actually have our account managers going in every week and putting in insights from their calls. So saying like, I joined this call, or I met with a customer face to face. Here was their reaction to the technology, or here's what I learned, or here were the challenges, whatever it might be. It's just what was there, what did they get out of it? But them putting that input in, we can't just let it then sit. It's actually looking for the trends across it. And then for myself as a sales leader, I actually look for coaching opportunities. So I'm trying to read those insights and say, how can I help coach you? Because I still want, that's my role in this process, right? Like I'm not out in front with the rep in these meetings, but I'm reading these notes. And so I'm still looking for opportunities to provide guidance on what that next step might be. So I think keeping ourselves in that process and looking for, again, that maybe the emotional intelligence portion that we can add on top of the AI. So we've got the AI literacy, we're using the tools, we're running the reports, we're doing all the cool stuff, but then we're there to handle the ambiguity, to add in the empathy, and to help navigate the situation.
Yeah, 100%. And I know we talked a bit about this before, around the coaching skill set being critical I believe, in modern sales. Um, and it is a different skill set, right? Coaching is not telling, coaching is not advice giving, coaching is not do it the way I did it, right? It's having those insights and then guiding, asking good questions, right? Like, and that skill is, I believe for the sales leaders that are listening in and really want to be more effective, and continue to be successful in a sales leadership role, like Patricia said, like
Yeah.
you've got the insights. Now it's your job. The work is to develop the skill so that you can create the behavior shifts and create the change based on those insights by really, yeah, building that coaching skill.
And Kirsten, maybe
Yeah,
just to kind of finish that thought is
please.
our piece in that is maybe role playing with our sellers, because creating all these great AI enabled tools or having this perfectly polished deck or having this report that has all the info, but then showing up in the room and not being able to confidently actually like demonstrate that you know the product, that you understand the customer's problem, that you know how to get them to a solution, then all credibility is off. Like as sellers and as the sales managers, then yes, we are irrelevant, and we've made ourselves irrelevant. So I think the important part there is understanding what we're saying and being able to stand behind the words and all the great slick AI driven insights.
Yeah, yeah, really good. I agree. Amazing. Well, we've got like a couple minutes left. If you've been enjoying this conversation, thank you so much for everybody who's been listening in, contributing in the chat. There is going to be a form. Actually, Caitlin, if you have it, you can drop it in the chat now. That'd be great. It will be coming to you in email too. If you've been loving this conversation, you want to hear more, there's a couple of different opportunities that I'm going to be bringing both online and in person. So would love for you to just fill out the form if you want to be invited, if you want to participate, and or if you possibly even want to be a panelist in the future. So keep an eye out for that form. It's in the chat there right now if you want to open that and fill that out. And like I said, you'll also be getting that in an email too and follow up today's session. Thank you all so much for being here. I would love to ask just like one rapid fire question. If there is one decision a sales leader is avoiding that it could improve their team immediately. So if people are to walk away today making one decision to move the needle, I'm just going to go across my screen here. If you could give me an answer, Patricia, what would you say?
One thing that we'd remove, was it?
Sorry, what would be a decision that like leaders are avoiding that if they made that decision, they could really get moving?
Oh, removing the low performers.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
don't
I love
hold
it.
on, just make the hard
No.
call.
Yeah, or even the low performing customers. Like just
Be
yeah.
ruthless. Yeah.
Yep. I love it. Be ruthless, Adrian.
Oh God, that's a good one. I absolutely agree. I guess just, I don't know if this is going to be that game changing. I love removing underperformers and also just like cleaning the pipeline, like have an actual realistic view of what could close instead of a bunch of fluff that's been sitting there. Be ruthless about pipe so you actually know where you sit and what's possible and remove the noise.
Yeah, it comes back to focus. I love it. Brittany.
I would say set standards, like be really clear on what you expect, and they don't have to be scary. Like one of them I set for my team was everybody on this team takes their vacation and shuts down. Like it's a good standard on this team. We take vacation and you get to have your vacation. It's great. Like that, they understand clearly what's expected of them and what they get as part of the team. And I think that's really important.
Awesome. Love it. Paulina.
My answer was similar to Brittany's, and this is something that a prior leader from Shopify started with us when I was a seller. No, I was a leader on her team, but she enforced one personal day a month and held us accountable to it because we know that we get into the groove, as Brittany was mentioning, and we don't take vacation. And a lot of us have this like unlimited PTO, and we're like, we don't know where you're coming and going, and you put it off. But once a month, you get your day, and you just tell them ahead of time. And I want to start enforcing that because I think it's important for like our mental health, just like wellness in general, to like take a second. And I think oftentimes that's overlooked. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I'm hearing again is like set the standard high, like find your focus and be ruthless. right? And committing to it and prioritizing it. So thank you all for an incredible conversation. Thank you to our incredible audience. And I look forward to connecting with everyone. And yeah, see you hopefully soon in person or online. And yeah, really, really great insights. Really appreciate everybody's presence and participation today. Thank you.